What's up, family? Welcome back to Closing Open Wounds with your cousin Cleisha. I bring you greetings from Miami at the Intercontinental Miami. Amazing, guys. Amazing. I'm celebrating my 44th birthday. It will be in about 6 days. I don't know what today is, y'all. It's the 29th. It's the 29th. It is Monday, September 29th, and we're about to do breakfast. This is my semi-solo trip, and I was apprehensive about it because, I traveled alone. I'm checking in alone. I have my own cabin. I've been single before on cruises, but I've always had somebody with me. Now, my best friend did meet me here in Miami, and we are getting on the cruise together. So I have people with me. However, like it's semi-solo because it's just me and Jesus in these rooms. And I love it. I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about it, but I am encouraged about it. So what I want to talk to you guys briefly is when I went to bed last night, I said, God, is there something that you want me to tell your people? As you can see, I bought some of my equipment for to do these videos. And I want to talk about Ruth and Boaz. A lot of people talk about Ruth and Boaz, but you guys know I always get a different perspective of different things. Some people love it, some people hate it, but either way, I didn't come up with it. So God gave me this brain, so I'm going to tell you what he told me. And I want to talk to you today about divine replacements. Divine replacements. Do I believe in divine replacements? I took some notes down. As a matter of fact, I do. I do. I don't believe that every situation requires a divine replacement. I don't think everyone always gets a divine replacement. Sometimes God puts people in your lives and they are your burden. But do I believe in divine replacements? Yes, I do. And I want to entitle this Divine Replacements. Boaz was not the first choice. Did you know that? Did you read that? I really want you to read Ruth chapters 1 through 4. It's only 4 books. You can do that. Do like I did to refresh myself. I played it on the Bible app. It'll read to you. So when I tell you things are so easy for us to do and to get our word in, it is very easy for us to do that. And of course, I saw the new Tyler Perry and Devon Franklin's Ruth and Boaz. Oh my God, so wholesome, so good. Thank God, because I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm not always a fan of Tyler Perry. Don't shoot me. Don't try to take my black card. I don't know if you feel me, but I'm not always a fan of his work. This was true. This was wholesome. This is something that I can digest. Okay. Being a single woman, I want to talk about Ruth and Boaz, and I want to talk about divine replacements. Okay. And I'm going to paraphrase this. I got to get ready to go for breakfast because we are boarding the boat today. But like I said, I want you to read Ruth 1 through 4, but I'm going to give you a synopsis of everything. Okay. There's a older woman named Naomi. She has a husband, Elimelech, and they have 2 sons. They leave Bethlehem and they go into Moab. They go to Moab, and I guess it was okay at that time. And then Naomi's husband dies. Luckily for Naomi, she has 2 sons. In that custom, you wanted to have sons because, a lot of times the husbands were a lot older than the women. Okay, so that means they're going to die first. So we would have these children. You wanted a boy because when daddy died, at least I have my sons, right? Thank God I have my 2 sons. They take very good care of me, might I add. I love my boys, right? So Naomi's husband dies, but she has her 2 sons, her saving grace. So she's like, okay, daddy's gone. We got to come up with a plan. So Naomi's sons married 2 Moabite women, Ruth and Orpah. What stuck out to me, and I've read Ruth before, but God was giving me revelations because he said, this is what I want you to talk about in the morning. So this is going to be posted ahead of schedule. I have like 6 videos lined up for you guys that will be coming out while I'm away. So I don't even have to, work. And what I realized is that when you read that, the boys get married and they spend about 10 years in Moab as married men. Nobody had any children. Nobody built an inheritance. Woman of God, you mean to tell me that you spent almost 10 years, this is for somebody, that you spent almost 10 years with a joker and you have nothing to show for it? Or however long you spent. Everyone has a different time. I'm not wasting 10 years on nobody, right? But that stuck out to me. Read it for yourself, okay? Because almost 10 years, both of the sons die. So Naomi's husband died and her two sons, and now she got these two daughters-in-law. No grandchildren, no inheritance, no nothing, no insurance plan, no nothing. This is beyond me, right? So they're crying, they're upset because Naomi's like, look, y'all two girls, go back to your family. I have nothing else for you. My sons are dead. I can't help you. And they're crying. And in my mind, when I heard this story, coming up as a kid, that's why when you get as an adult, you got to read this stuff for yourself, right? Read different translations if you have to. And my mind always thought that Orpah was just like, all right, well, I'm out. Like she said, leave, so Orpah just left. No, the text said that they both were crying. They were weeping. They were grieving. Orpah didn't initially want to leave Naomi, but she left. On the other hand, Ruth, who we're talking about today, she cried, but she stayed. She said, don't ever tell me to leave you. Only death can separate us. Naomi like, girl, you was crazy. What you going to wait? I'm too old to marry, and even if I do marry and have a son, you want to sit here and wait for him to come of age? Girl, y'all go. It's in the text. Read it. Amazing story. But Ruth insists on staying with Naomi. So Naomi and Ruth, Naomi like, look, let me go back to my hometown. I got some land out there. I got some kin out there. Let me go back and do what it do. I hear that, Bethlehem, Judah, they popping again. They having a good harvest season. So let's go back and we'll figure it out. So they go, and Naomi, they get there, and Ruth is just like, look, let me go harvest some grain. Let me go get some work. Let me go out here and try to do something. Let me go try to provide for us. You know what I mean? And so she goes to the field, and she works, and come to find out, she's working out of Boaz's field, which is kindred to Naomi's late husband, Elimelech. And Boaz, he asked his workman, he's like, yo, who's that damsel over there? You know what I'm saying? Like, he recognized who's the new face or whatever. So obviously word then got around town, and the foreman, the workman, he's just like, oh yeah, that's the Moabitess woman. Her husband died. She's from, that's Naomi's daughter-in-law, and she's been working hard. She ain't hardly take no break. She out here trying to get this coin / harvest. She out here working. So Boaz was like, oh wow. And for some kind of way, Boaz and Ruth meet, and Boaz like, look, you pick only from my field. I got you. Don't even go nowhere else. Other people want to give you problems, but you can pick right here. And Ruth is like, oh my God, why are you showing me so much grace and this and that? And what I love that Boaz says to her, it has been shown to me. Now, yes, the foreman did tell Boaz some details about who Ruth was. But when the Bible clearly says that it has been shown to me, he could have said it has been told to me. He said that it has been shown to me, which means in my little brain that even though a seed was planted of her identity, God revealed some more stuff to Boaz. You can't be that successful if you don't have insight. My God, this is blessing me. If it ain't blessing nobody else, it's blessing me. Boaz had insight on the characteristics of this woman. Okay. Boaz is an older man. So I'm sure he found her beautiful, but he showed her grace and said, yo, I got you. I know who you are. I see you. Okay. So there we are. So Ruth harvests all this barley and stuff like that. And Boaz showed her kindness. and she goes and she tells Naomi, look at all this stuff I got, whatever like that. And Naomi like, girl, where you get all this good stuff? She said, I was in the field, in Boaz's field. And Naomi was like, girl, you don't even know who that is. That is one of our kinsmen. Like, girl, get yourself together, get cute, get pretty. She gave her all these instructions. I ain't going to tell you everything because you need to go read it for yourself. Gave Ruth all these instructions and told her what to do, get prettied up, get cleaned up, and gave her specific instructions. Okay. And Ruth did just that. That meeting between Ruth and Boaz, um, started the conversation of Boaz being her kinsman redeemer. At that moment, Boaz realizes like, yo, they don't have a covering. And Boaz agrees, or he is willing, I should say, to be their kinsman redeemer. But in the story, he's just like, but hold on. I'm not the first one. There's someone ahead of me. My God. Boaz was not number one. He was number two in line for Ruth to take over Naomi's estate, to buy all of the land. The story is deep, and I pray you get your own revelation in it. But Boaz, being an upright, upstanding man, he finds the first kinsman redeemer. There is a man. He's not even, the guy don't even got no name. We don't even know who this joker is. So Boaz gets the man. He finds him in the court at the gate, and they have all the elders. He said, Boaz, like, everybody come over here. I need witnesses. So he gets the elders, because in that time, that's how you had to do things out in the open. I want to ask this no name first kinsman, listen, our brother Elimelech is dead. He has an estate. Do you want to buy it? If not, I'll buy it. So the first kinsman redeemer is like, yeah, sure, I'll buy it. In my mind, you thinking about money, gain. Yeah, I'll get the land. I'll buy it from Naomi, whatever. Then Boaz is just like, oh, in addition to that, if you do buy the estate, you also have to marry Ruth, because she's a descendant of, she's a widow of the family. And the first man, he's like, oh, hold on. Nah, no, like, nah, I can't do that. That's going to mess up what I got going on. I can't marry her now. You can have it. And he's like, you sure? All y'all agree, all y'all here, y'all witnesses that this man said I could have it. So in that custom, the first kinsman redeemer had to give up his shoe to say, here, this is a deal. This is the contract. Here, have it. And Boaz is like, all right. So he acquires the land, he acquires Ruth, and he marries her. Not only that, there's a couple revelations that I got that I'm going to have to get back to. You mean to tell me he gets with Ruth, right? Boaz, they get together, him and Ruth, they get together, and Ruth gets pregnant. She has a son named Obed. You mean to tell me she was with that other joker, her other husband? I ain't going to call him no joker. In a fruitless marriage for almost 10 years. Then she gets with Boaz, and she brings forth a son. That's crazy. That's crazy to me. That's how God works, right? So while we are dealing with rejection of men, this is for my sisters. I'm sorry, men. Y'all can listen if you want to. So while we're dealing with the rejection of people, let's just say, we don't understand that sometimes that's God's protection. We don't understand that. I can imagine Ruth, as she's picking up, harvesting, she's trying to make a name for herself, trying to make a living for herself, rather. I can imagine her mindset like, yo, I can't believe I got to do this. I'm going to do it because I ain't got no choice. I got to eat, but he ain't leave me nothing. I don't have nothing. I mean, I got to be out here and do this hard labor. She probably never really had to do nothing like that before. Because if you had a husband, I mean, normally he would take care of things like that. You did all the cooking and cleaning and all that stuff, whatever. I can imagine what she was going through. I don't even know if she was even necessarily thinking about a husband. Maybe I'm sure it crossed her mind. Like, well, if I had a husband, I wouldn't have to be doing all of this. I'm sure it crossed her mind. She's human. See, I put myself in these characters' shoes. Like, I would be low key pissed. But God does what he does, right? Um, ooh, um, I also find it interesting that the first kinsman redeemer, he was all gun ho when he thought he was just going to get some land and he was going to wash his hands of it. But when he had to get married and when he had to produce, he wasn't with it no more. Some people don't want to spend the effort on you. They don't want to put skin in the game. Unfortunately, there are some people that only want to do what benefits them when it's regarding you. And we have to be careful about that. And sometimes, I'm a good person, so I think everyone else is a good person, but it doesn't always work like that. So you'll be rejected. And you'll be like, God, why it ain't work? Like, why this ain't going? I'm doing everything right. I'm in position. Listen, let me tell you something. And I want you to read the story. Because if you don't know the story, you don't know this, you don't understand what I'm about to say. We always talk about, and I'm bouncing around, but I have to say it before I forget it. We always talk about, oh, Ruth was in the field, she was working, and she wasn't worried about no man, and she wasn't doing that. Unless you read chapter 3, she also dropped them hints too. She also laid at Boaz's feet, like, look, I want you to redeem me. Boaz probably obviously, he didn't even have that in mind because he's like, I'm old, she's young. What's she going to do with me? So even though Ruth was working, she let him know that she was available to him. Now, I don't know who that is for. That's for somebody. Because I don't have a problem with letting a man know subtly that I am interested. And y'all ladies know, these men don't always be the brightest. Like, they don't even be knowing that you be interested. And you just sitting here like, he better read my mind and know that I want him. Sis, look what we dealing with. Sometimes you're going to have to drop the hints. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, read the story to find out for yourself. Was Ruth in position? Yes, she was. But when Naomi instructed her on what to do to be redeemed by him, oh, she put herself in another position. I don't know who that's for. So back to being rejected. We'll be rejected by God's first choice. And I'm not saying that it's not his choice. The first redeemer was first in line, but he didn't want to marry her. Lord. And y'all know I only talk about what I've been through. I understand this story all too well from this perspective. This is why I believe in divine replacements. I don't want you to think that you were wrong when you thought you were to marry that man. when God gave you dreams and confirmations of it. But in some instances, I do believe that they have free will and they have to want what God wants for them. And if they don't, one monkey don't stop no show. It's hard. You weren't wrong. You were clear. But God will always have another. He'll have a ram in the bush. He'll always have a David to a Saul. He'll always have an Elisha to an Elijah. Like, Yandaba. God believes it. I believe that God does have divine replacements. What he won't do, that man that's in your mind, that's in your heart, someone else will. And without giving too much, how can I say this? How can I say this? If there is someone that isn't ready for all of you, and you have purpose and destiny, I do believe that God will move around. God's will be done. I have been in situation where, I'm like, God, didn't you say this? Like, I thought you said you showed me this and this and that. And so long, I would take it personal about the rejection. Like this person is hurting me. Whoever I'm dating, this person is hurting me. They're rejecting me. Like, you're doing it. Then I remembered that God is protecting me because that person isn't ready. That person isn't ready for all of me. That person may have so much going on in their lives. They may not even be purposeful, like intentional, trying to hurt you, but they have so much going on that they can't fit you in, at least not right now. And that rejection that we're feeling is literally God's protection. It's okay. There will be another. If not them, if they don't get it together and heed to the revelation that God has given you, because I do believe more often than not that God will let a woman know who her spouse is, who a potential is, who the first one was. I'm only speaking what I know. And like I said, the show must go on. So if you're feeling rejected, I don't want you to. I want you to shift your focus and say, God, you're protecting me. They're not doing it. And even God hardens the heart of Pharaoh. And they may not even know why they're rejecting you. You're wonderful. You're the total package. You have everything. But God is like, you ain't ready and you ain't about to hurt my daughter. Flip it if you are a man still watching. You ain't about to hurt my son, sis. You got too much healing to do. They're not ready for the type of love that you have. This is, my promise for them, but hey. So, hope you learned something today. I hope you go do your homework after you read it. Again, I don't care if you're a preacher and you've been preaching it for 20 years. Go back with the new mindset of what I just said, what I just told you in these few minutes, and come back and tell me in the comments what you got out of it now. Boaz wasn't number one. And when you really think about it, he was actually number three. But Boaz wasn't number one. Okay. Um, Divine replacements, ladies. If this message is for you, I pray that it blesses you. It may not be for right now, but it may be for later. Hold on to God's promise. Whatever it is, hold on to it. But if things are changing, if, it's not that God has changed his mind, but he can change his plan. Sometimes God will have you, he will reveal something to you and reveal something to another person, and they can reject it and not be ready for it. And then later on the line, and God says, see what you could have had? Didn't I tell you that that was your wife? Didn't I tell you that that was yours? And now look at you. 10 years later, 20 years later. Sometimes God will do something just to prove a point to your tail. He like that. Anyway, I gotta go. I'm far beyond my time has been spent. I love you guys so, so much. Pray for me as I pray for you. And I'll catch you in the next video. Take care.